It's time for Expert Picks, presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Make every moment more. And these guys, wow, Pete, why is your fist so small compared to your head? It's Pete Prisco against Kyle Long all season long. Tiny hands. Pete going head-to-head, hopefully not fist-to-fist.
One of us was a
Kyle.
guard in the NFL, and it sure doesn't look like it was the guy on the right either. That picture's like, woo, I need to get a new picture.
You do need a new picture,
Get
Pete.
one.
Make your hands look a little bit bigger as well. Welcome, everybody. We're going to pick every Week 1 game against the spread here on CBS Sports HQ. Kyle Long joining us this season, and Pete Prisco. Any advice for Kyle as you go head-to-head with him for the first time?
Well, get ready to take it, because I usually give it a lot, and you're going to get
Take it.
You're going to get a
Aggressive midweek conversation.
Look, the last guy that did the picks with us, he's no longer with us.
What was his name?
I don't remember.
He was handsome.
He was a good-looking guy. Let's start with the Thursday night kickoff. It's the Ravens who had the best record in the NFL last season, the two-time MVP in Lamar Jackson against the two-time defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. And KC is a 3-point favorite here, a rematch of the AFC Championship game. Pete, lead us off.
I can't wait for this. I really can't. I mean, I love seeing these two teams going at each other. Remember the last time they played the championship game? The Ravens didn't run the ball at all.
6 running back runs the whole game.
It's ridiculous that game plan was so bad. They'll try and run the ball with Derrick Henry now. The problem is they have issues on the offensive line. They've actually talked about rotating linemen at 2 different spots during the game. They did it some last year. That's an issue for me. So I worry about their offensive line. I think the Chiefs defensively are going to be the same old Chiefs. They'll be able to get after the quarterback. They blitzed Lamar Jackson to death last year in that game. They'll do it again. He struggled with the blitz. I like the Chiefs in this game to cover the number.
Yeah, Pete, I agree with you. At the end of the day, it's the matchup that's on the screen. It's Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. Who am I going to put my money on? It's always Patrick Mahomes, 7 days a week. And in this case, the Chiefs got better. So I think it's a pretty easy pick here for Chiefs -3 at home.
And Pete, you said you also like the under as well in this game of 46.5. That's the Thursday nighter. Should be really interesting. Pete has Kansas City #1 in his power rankings, but he doesn't have them winning the Super Bowl. That's a team in the NFC, the Green Bay Packers. We'll get to their game in just a bit. There is a Friday night game this week. It is in Brazil, first ever South American game, and it's a really good one. It's that team Pete has picked to win the Super Bowl, the Packers, and they're underdogs against the Eagles on a neutral field.
I don't understand that, to be honest with you. I think at worst case scenario, they should be even Stevens. I love getting points in this scenario. I have picked the Packers with the Super Bowl. I think when you look at their offense, it's going to be explosive. They have playmakers all across the board. Jordan Love showed what he could do. And then defensively, getting Jeff Hafley over there will be big for them. And the Eagles, they'll be better on defense, but how much better? They were terrible last year on defense. I think the better defense this year is still going to be in Green Bay. I think that shows up here. I'll take the Green Bay Packers to win this game outright, by the way. You don't even need the points.
Yeah, whenever you travel a long distance to play a football game, granted both of these teams are playing, I feel like the youth can be the thing that's in question. And for this Eagles defense, I think about Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, guys who could potentially be getting a lot of snaps for this defense, Vic Fangio-led defense. We could have a little bit of a cloudy performance early on, but for the Packers, this group knows how to go out there and play. I am also picking the Packers. I'm not sure what that line is either.
Yeah, it seems fishy, that line.
It does.
Stinks. You guys both getting fish hooked here?
We get the early fish
And
hook.
the Eagles, by the way, they've lost 7 straight against the spread going back to last season. That's the longest skid against the spread in the NFL in almost 30 years.
One other thing, and you would know this better than me, but Cam Jurgens now in for Jason Kelsey. How much of an impact is that on the offensive line?
I don't think there's a ton of impact. Obviously, there's some situational plays. We talk about the tush-push and Jason Kelsey, his ability to get under there. I still think it's in the playbook. But at the end of the day, you got 2 good tackles, which is allowing you to help wherever you see fit along the inside of the offensive line. Those tackles, I'm not even worried about them. We got to get those inside 3 figured out, and you'll be just fine in Philadelphia.
We're starting by picking all the primetime games, Thursday, Friday, and a couple on Monday. We have the Rams and the Lions, and this one actually Sunday night, 8:20 Eastern time. The Lions at home. This is a reminder of that wild card game that was so good. Went down to the wire. The Lions winning by a point. The total is high here at 51.5. That's the highest total of the week.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I worry about the Rams' defense a little bit. No Aaron Donald. How do you compensate for that? He's arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. It's tough to compensate for losing a guy like that. They're going to have to get creative. I know they drafted guys, Fisk out of Florida State, Verse out of Florida State, but it's going to take a little while to get acclimated. I think the Lions, provided Dan Campbell doesn't do his usual go for it every time on fourth down, I think they'll find a way to score a lot of points. I think they'll find a way to win this game. It will be high scoring.
I think we'll see two things that are clear and evident about these two teams. The Detroit Lions, they're dominant up front on the line of scrimmage, and that's why I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions in this football game. But then the Rams, you're going to be able to see Sean McVay's genius early and often. I think the offense starts hot this season, and obviously a team that finished hot with the LA Rams. But I'm going to be picking the Lions at home, a tough team, and when there is a toss-up there, I'm going to give it to the offensive line and the stars they have in that room.
I wonder if the fans will get all over Matt Stafford. Remember when he was there the last time, his wife said that the fans were very rude to him.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty. Hey, you guys are agreeing. All 3 games so far you've agreed on? What is going on?
I don't like
two peas in a pod over here. A couple baldies.
Two bald guys making picks. That's
It's the O-line. That's the whole reason that Detroit will get as far as they do this year. Bullies up front.
You guys are both former offensive linemen. You all-pro NFL. Pete, all-county in high school.
All-world.
Oh, yeah, right.
You just didn't see the votes.
So this is a Sunday night game. Only one Monday night game to open up the season this year, and it's out in Santa Clara. A really good one again here. It's the 49ers against the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers trying to exercise those Week 1 Monday night demons this time around.
Well, let him go first since he copies every one of my picks.
Maybe you'll differ finally on the game.
Trent Williams, I just saw him on a plane from Houston. He's getting on the plane with his big-ass dog, the Cane Corso. Everybody's in trouble, okay? The summer's over. Trent Williams is like the NFL's groundhog. When he deems it's time to go, it's time to go. So now you get Ayuk, you get Trent Williams, you get all the homies getting off the bus for the Bay Area. I got the San Francisco 49ers.
I'm on the other side in this one. I like the Jets to keep it close. I don't know if they'll win the game, but I think Aaron Rodgers being back changes the whole dynamic of that team, and we know defensively they're really good. That's the matchup. Can that offensive line with Trent Williams getting off the bus go in there and move that defensive line consistently in the run game? Because you know that's what everything they do is predicated off that run game. Kyle Shanahan's a great play caller, but I think they'll have a little bit of problems here. Robert Saleh knows that offense very well. I think this is close. I don't know if they'll win it, but you're going to give me the points. I'll take it.
Couple of trends in the favor of the Jets. You saw that one there. The Niners 0-7 in their last 7 home games against the spread, and Aaron Rodgers has won 10 straight Monday night football games. That includes the game last year that he hardly played.
That doesn't count.
Well, still a good streak going for Rodgers. As you look at the agreements, Pete's going to add a couple of totals here. He likes the under in that Ravens-Chiefs game of 46.5, the over in Packers-Eagles.
A little sprinkling. I give you a little dessert there to go with that.
Not a full unit, but over 48.5 in that Packers-Eagles game. They agree with the Chiefs, Packers, Lions. Disagreement, though, on Monday Night Football. Continuing on with expert picks presented by FanDuel, a look at the early slate Sunday on CBS as we kick off our coverage, also streaming on Paramount Plus. A couple of games to zero in on, including the AFC South champion Texans, -2.5 at Anthony Richardson's Colts. And maybe the marquee game there down at the bottom, the Jags at the Dolphins, Miami in South Florida, -3. We're picking these games in every week, one game against the spread with Kyle Long and Pete Prisco. I'm Chris Hassel, and Pete, over the last 2 years, the Dolphins 7-0. Listen to this. This is a next-level stat. 7-0 when Kevin, Trent, and Melanie are on the call for CBS, and they are going to be calling this one.
Well, then they'll be 7-1.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not winning that game.
Really? You're going Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's a better team.
Money line.
Money line. You don't need the points. Jacksonville's a better team. And the reason I say that, well, it starts with the quarterback. They have the better quarterback. I know people will argue that, but they do. But they're tougher. They're more physical. They will be the more physical team. That's the knock on the Miami Dolphins. Are they physical enough? And I know it's early in the season. They're usually good. They're creative. This is going to be one of those games they get to lose. Lots of points. Tons of points. Both teams are going to score. Both defenses will have issues. Jacksonville's going to be much more aggressive on defense this year, but you do that against the Miami Dolphins, that track team runs by you. A lot of points, but I think in the end, Jacksonville wins the game and covers the number.
Well, I think about these offensive coaches, like I think about Andy Reid coming out of a bye week, and some of these dudes, you just know they're going to be batting 1,000 when they come out there. Mike McDaniel, off of an extension and off of this offseason, granted there have been some health issues in that receiver room the last few days, last few weeks. I really think the game plan is going to be dialed in for the Miami Dolphins, regardless of how physically the Jaguars go out there and play. I got the Dolphins winning this game and giving a couple points there, 3 points to the Jags, and my guy Pete over here. I just disagree with you. I think think there's too much talent on that offensive side of the ball, and even a hobbled receiver group in Miami will be enough to get out there and out.
High scoring?
I think they're going to go under. I think it's going to be an under in this game. You're going over. I'm going under in this one.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I don't think they have all their pieces, but they're smart enough to get the job done.
All right, also on CBS at 1 Eastern time on Sunday, it's the Cardinals, Kyler Murray against the Bills. Last time we saw Kyler Murray play the Bills, it was the Hail Murray. Remember, that was a long time ago. This one is in Buffalo, and the Bills are laying 5.5.
He has a new knee since then. I mean, so I mean, it's a different quarterback. He was much better last year, I thought, when he came back. He looked like a much more mature, better quarterback. That team is feisty. They're tough. They're physical. I think they did a great job last year staying in games. I picked Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl. But I think this is going to be a closer game than what this line says. I think Arizona will hang around. I know it's a tough trip to go across country, play that early time slot, but I think they hang around and they cover the number. Buffalo wins, but it's close.
They've got this game circled on their calendar for a long time now, Chris. And when you're the Arizona Cardinals and you're a guy like Kyler Murray who feels disrespected and slighted, you want to go out there and you want to get this team out on paper, winning a game against a team that people think is going to win. I am picking the Cardinals against the spread here to beat the Bills in Buffalo. It's early. It's going to be beautiful weather in Buffalo. I think Kyler Murray finds a way to be shot out of a cannon with that new offensive firepower of Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the Cardinals play a lot of really good teams tough last year, and this year they're going to prove that they can be really dangerous.
Pete's giving you the cock.
They're going to piss Pete off so bad in week 1 when they get the dub.
Or win?
They're going to win. They're going to win outright. They're going to win outright. They're going to cover the spread. They're going to win outright.
You've taken over from Lige as the Bills hater.
I don't know about that. I'm a Josh Allen guy. I've broken a few tables in my day, Pete.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Pete's on Wex and
AFC
wings
champion,
and watch
losing
the Bills
week 1.
get to the Super Bowl.
That would be something, and a lot of pressure would then go on Josh Allen and that coaching staff if they lose that game. Let's move on to another 1 o'clock Eastern time game on CBS. It's Joe Burrow and the Bengals at home, and this is the largest spread of the week as of now. No double-digit spreads. This one is 9.5 against the lowly, or so we think, Patriots.
Yeah, I hate laying this big number. I really do. You know me. I hate laying big numbers, but there's no way to take the Patriots in this game. New coach, new quarterback, rookie looking over his shoulder, pressure to play, bad offensive line, questionable offensive line against a team with Joe Burrow back. I think that matters a lot. I think the Bengals will find a way to cover this number, but I hate laying, I'll say it, I hate laying 9.5.
I just think about going to Cincinnati. I played there as a rookie. It's one of the hardest places to play, particularly if you're an offensive lineman.
Why is that?
Their fans are really smart. They know when to make a lot of noise. They find a way to make it so communication is damn near impossible, Chris. And as an offensive lineman, particularly in that group in New England, coming to play in Cincinnati, it's going to be tough. They're going to have their ears pinned back. We know Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense will score a lot of points, which keeps me away from being in the fear category on, what is it, 9 points? 9.5 points? That's a lot of points, but I still think it's the Bengals covering at home.
It's a lot of points and not a lot in the total. It's 40.5, which is tied for the lowest total of the week. All right, let's get to what should be a really exciting, fun, back-and-forth game between the Texans, C.J. Stroud, and a healthy Anthony Richardson and the Colts. Houston, a road favorite here at -2.5. Kyle, what do you think?
I'm going to find it really hard to pick against C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. And I'm also going to find it really hard to invest all of my thoughts into Anthony Richardson being the progression of a quarterback that we think he is going to be under Shane Steichen. I, like anybody else, want to see these physical specimens come in and play the quarterback position like nobody's ever seen it before. But until he proves it to me in the regular season, week after week, I'm not sure if that's the guy, in my opinion. So I'm going to be taking the guy who I know is the dude, and that's C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans.
Look at the cover streak for the Texans. 8 straight on the road in divisional games.
Well, that streak is going to get broken because I think the Colts are going to win this game outright. Look, the hype for the Texans, it's over the top. It really is. They're impressive last year. C.J. Stroud threw 23 touchdown passes. You would have thought he threw 45 the way we talk about him, and I love him. I think he's going to be special, but not yet. And remember, final week of the season, they went to Indianapolis, and the Colts probably should have won that game with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. They get Richardson back. He's going to be able to move around with his legs and create some problems. I think the Colts win the game outright. And I love the dogs this week.
I'm not sure they believe it yet in Indianapolis. I'm not sure they do, Pete.
They should have got, if they win that game, the last game of the season with Gardner Minshew, they go to the playoffs and the Texans stay home. Are we talking about the Texans the same way?
But now we got Anthony Richardson, so the question still remains, is he going to be the guy?
Well, he's better than Gardner Minshew.
And the Colts still have Jonathan Taylor, who has killed the Texans throughout his career, including that last game last season. Pete hates Gardner Minshew.
He's not very good. He killed him this morning.
He can't grow a mustache, that's why.
Yeah, Pete has no body hair whatsoever, not even on his head. No eyebrows. Well, he got a few eyebrows. Well, a little there. All right, so those are the early games on CBS. Let's go to the early games on Fox. Titans, Bears. This is a long streak here. It was, 15 straight quarterbacks taken #1 overall have failed to win their first start. Does Caleb Williams break that streak? It would be the first time since 2002.
Let the Bear go first.
I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Bears early on, and I think styles make fights. When I think about the fight that you're going to be in against the Tennessee Titans, it's going to be a fist fight in the phone booth between the B-gaps. You think about their star players on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be right there in Caleb's field of vision. He will prove a lot to me if he can go out there and evade the rush, if this offensive line can find a way to stymie this rush, whether it's run or pass by the Titans. I do think that I have here Bears covering, but I think Titans might take this thing in Chicago.
What?
Just keep your pants on, Bears fans. It's going to be okay.
Is that the biggest hedge of all time?
That's the biggest.
It's going to be okay. Bears fans, do not boo if things don't. They went 3-0 in the last preseason game, and then things happen.
So on this paper, it says Bears.
I picked Bears.
I picked Bears right here. 4.5.
Okay.
But the Titans might win, is what he said.
I thought it was Titans -4.5.
No,
I'm reading this wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bears win. Do they cover the 4.5?
Bears win. I don't think they cover the.
Okay, so you got the Titans plus 4.5.
Yes.
Okay.
This is my first time picking against the spread.
Okay. I love the Titans in this game. You know I'm a Will Levis guy. I think Will Levis is going to be special. You mentioned those defensive linemen. Those guys are going to get after the quarterback. They're going to limit what Caleb Williams does. This is going to be a fun game, but I think it's going to be fun for the Titans. I think they hang around. Wouldn't shock me to see them win the game outright.
Both on the Titans plus 4.5 in what would be a tight game.
On Twitter for that.
You really are. Let's release this one right away, please.
Yeah.
We'll have to get back to our greatest Bears quarterback of all time debate that we had in the newsroom with Pete saying Sid Luckman and everybody else saying Jay Cutler. But Pete did say before the season, eventually Caleb Williams is going to be that guy. Not a super high bar. Let's go to the Steelers at Falcons. Also 1 p.m. Eastern time. The Falcons are the favorites in the NFC South. They've got Kirk Cousins, and this is an interesting matchup because it's two old quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, getting their first start with a fresh team.
Yeah, and one of them's still good and the other one's not. Kirk Cousins can still play, at least in regular season, in games that aren't defined as being big games. He'll put up some good numbers, and for that reason, I'll take the Falcons here. I think they're the better offense. Defensively, the Steelers will still be good. They'll still be the physical, tough team that they always are. But I think the better offense will show up in this one. Falcons at home, I'll lay the points.
Yeah, I firmly agree with Pete here. I'm going to go Falcons as well, and I think it comes down to the quarterback play. We all loved watching Russell Wilson play when he had a complimentary defense.
Well, some of you did.
And he was still young, but I mean, I haven't seen it recently from Russell Wilson. I'd love to, but in this case, Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons.
But if the Steelers go into the game and yell out, big game, big game, big game, it might work to their advantage because you know what happens to Kirk Cousins in big games.
It is quite something that Pete has come this far of a way to say that Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback than Russell Wilson. I know you haven't been a huge Russell Wilson guy throughout his career, but
baby steps.
I don't think you would have said that 3 years ago. But you're saying
I still probably would have said he's much better.
Let's move to another matchup featuring teams in that NFC South. It's the Panthers, who are expected to bring up the rear, and the Saints, who are expected to come in third place in that division. New Orleans has won 5 consecutive Week 1 games. That's the longest streak in the NFL. 4.5, those the spread.
Yeah, and this is going to be an ugly game between two teams that I don't think are going to be sniffing the playoffs at all. I worry about the Saints. They have major offensive line issues. Derek Carr is another one of those quarterbacks. Can you count on him? And how long, if things go poorly, do they look to Spencer Rattler maybe to be their quarterback? Then you go to the other side of the ball. Age has crept in on that side of the ball. But having said all that, new coach, Carolina. Did they fix Bryce Young? I don't know if they did, and so that's the problem. I'll take the Saints here. Will be a crazy place to play for that guy in that game for the new coach, and I think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, new coach going down to New Orleans to play, obviously really tough. I'm going to be taking the Saints as well, and both teams will have ugly things pop up on film, and fan bases on both sides will be scratching their heads. You said it first, the offensive line situation, particularly the tackle situation in New Orleans on the right side is scary. They've got their first rounder on the left side. When that offense had a ton of success in their heyday, they had beasts at guard, and they had good players players at tackle. It allowed the quarterback to step up. I'm not sure Derek Carr will have the same luxury as Drew Brees did in New Orleans, but at the end of the day, I've got the Saints. They're a better football team. Bryce Young, the Panthers, a lot to prove.
Every single game this week as of midweek is a single-digit spread, and the closest one is in New York. The Giants hosting the Vikings. It's basically a toss-up. Vikings -1.5, but maybe some good vibes for Daniel Jones seeing that Vikings helmet again, because, boy, the high point in his career was that playoff win against Minnesota a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Giants, I need this guy, Daniel Jones, to show me that somebody took the Men in Black laser and put it in front of his face and beamed the light at him, because that will mean it's a fresh start for Daniel Jones. You got Malik Neighbors, you've got Brian Daboll, you've got all these really smart guys in the building and really talented guys. I think Neighbors can have a real special season, but in this case, I'm gonna take the Minnesota Vikings. I just think their roster is complete, and obviously, if it's not for Sam Darnold, we could be having a different conversation about this Minnesota Vikings team. But this is a coming out party, and for Sam Darnold, I think they're going to get the win on the road.
Yeah, if you're Daniel Jones, you got to go into this game thinking, if I don't play well this year, I'm out of here. You know that. So this is a big year for him. But the other side of that is you could look and say, well, you know what? Maybe I could be Sam Darnold and go somewhere else down the road and become a starter. Because you usually are what you are, right? Don't I always say that? Sam Darnold's a backup quarterback. That's what he is. He shouldn't be starting in the NFL. And I don't think he's going to be much better than he's ever shown before. I like the Giants. I think what the Giants are going to do with their pass rush, get after him. They will pressure him, turn the ball over. I'll take Daniel Jones.
The Vikings O-line is nails, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
They're going to get after him. They're going to get after him.
Is that a homer pick, Pete? I know you grew up cheering on the Giants.
I did grow up a Giants fan. I could care less now.
Continuing our expert picks presented by FanDuel with Pete Prisco and Kyle Long. We have 4 more games to pick. It's the late window on Sunday, 2 of them on CBS. It's Jim Harbaugh's debut with the Chargers against the Raiders. We also have the Broncos and Seahawks, and then a couple other games highlighted by the Cowboys and Browns, along with Bucs Commanders. All right, CBS, 4:05 Eastern Time. If you don't get an early game, you might get this one. It's Chargers hosting the Raiders, and Jim Harbaugh 4-0 in season openers in his NFL career. It's been 10 years, though, and that was a different team in San Francisco than he has now.
A pretty good team. The 49ers were really good, and he made them good. He's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. I think he's truly going to turn this team around. I always say this, Chris, about the dynamic between his run-heavy offense and Justin Herbert. That's something I want to see, how they mesh together, because Justin Herbert wants to throw the ball down the field. I think it will work. It'll work in this game. You know, you look at the Raiders, and they have outside concerns at the cornerback position. Will they hold up there? I think the Chargers will run the ball, hit some play-action shots down the field, and find a way to cover this number. I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, and for the Chargers, I've also got the Chargers. It's going to be a coming-out party for their offensive lineman, their first pick, Joe Alt. I mean, talk about a matchup nightmare week 1, going out there against the Vegas Raiders, playing against those ends, particularly Crosby. I think a coming-out party doesn't always have to be a bad movie, a sad movie. I think he can go out there and show that some of these guys aren't so untouchable. I think Joe Alt's a guy that's going to be there forever, and I think he fits in for exactly what you're talking about with Coach Harbaugh's scheme. He wants to run the ball heavy. He wants to get his athletes out on the edge and launch that thing down the field. I think Justin Herbert is tailor-made for this offense. I think the physicality will show itself in this game. That's why I've got the Chargers.
You know what this game? You know what this game?
Quarterback scales?
Boom. There you go.
Justin Herbert
against Gardner Minshew.
Ooh. Yeah, see, Pete loves rooting against quarterbacks.
And hopefully Herbert's feeling all right. He's been dinged.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. By the way, the total is tied for the lowest total of the week, despite the fact the Raiders hung 63 on the Chargers late last season. Also on CBS, 4:05 Eastern, Broncos at Seahawks, a couple teams with new beginnings. The Broncos at quarterback, first rookie to start week 1 in Bo Nix, and the Seahawks have a new head coach in Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks here, and obviously the rookie quarterback is something that we can talk about a lot, but I think it's the new defensive coordinator there in Seattle and the looks that he will present this rookie quarterback. Obviously, in the preseason, you get a lot of vanilla looks, and what you want to see is your young quarterback respond to vanilla looks. It's almost like gimme putts, you know what I'm saying? That's what I look at the preseason as. But once we get into the regular season, you get in these matchups, you're going to be looking at teams that have been scheming you up the entirety of camp, the entirety of the spring. So now we're going to see what this Seattle game plan plan is defensively and how Bo Nix and Sean Payton are able to respond to it. I am picking the Seahawks in this one. I just think it's a really tough place to play in Seattle for any quarterback, let alone a rookie.
Yeah, and Mike McDonald is so exotic with all the looks he throws at veteran quarterbacks have problems with him, let alone guy making his first start. In Seattle, which is, you know, the toughest place maybe to play for a young quarterback, you can't hear anything.
Kyle says it's Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's hard. Seattle, I couldn't hear anything. We had Jimmy Clausen back there. I mean, I couldn't even.
Well, you didn't want to hear anything coming out of Jimmy's mouth.
It was a long day. I love you, Jimmy.
But the bottom line is this is a tough place to play against a complicated defense. Bo Nix is going to be a good quarterback. He's going to have success, but not right away. I'll take Seattle in this one as well.
The marquee game of the late slate is 4:25 Eastern time. Really interesting game here as the Cowboys go on the road into Cleveland to take on the Browns. And what are you going to get? Deshaun Watson, is he going to look totally healthy? The Browns are the favorites here, -2.5, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns may be the favorites, but to me, the Dallas Cowboys are still the Dallas Cowboys. And they got C.D. Lamb re-signed. They've got Dak Prescott. You know, he's alive and well. So I think this offense is going to be just as dangerous as ever. Obviously, the Browns have a roster that's complete, and they are primed to make a run here. But the quarterback, that's where the question lies, right, Pete? The quarterback is what wins you games and ultimately wins you the Super Bowl. I've got the Dallas Cowboys in this one. I think the offensive firepower is just too much. I like their two rookies, Beebe and Guyton, although they're going to be tested by this Cleveland defensive front.
I'm with you. I think the Cowboys are the better team. Again, it's tough to open on the road in the NFL, so it's hard to sit here and say, well, I love Dallas. I like Dallas. I think they can win the game. Here's the thing. When you look at Deshaun Watson, even when he was playing, he wasn't playing well. He's only played 12 games in 2 years. That's not enough football to just sit here and say they're going to be a better team with him out on the field. So I'll take the known quarterback in Dak Prescott. I think the Cowboys, not only, I will take them to win the game, by the way. I think they win the game.
Cowboys to win it. All right. Both agreeing on at least the Cowboys +2.5. Browns cycled through all those quarterbacks last season, still made it to the postseason. How about the Commanders, though, who are taking on the Bucs? 8th straight season they've had a different starter at quarterback. That's a record. They feel like this is the guy, though, in Jalen Daniels up against Pete's guy, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs.
It won't be a 9th straight season. I promise you that. They're going to have the same quarterback next year. Jalen Daniels is going to be really good. I think he's got all the makings of being a special quarterback. But again, he's a young quarterback opening on the road. And Todd Bowles will come after him. You know that. He'll get after him. And I think this Bucs team is being undervalued across the board. It's a great mix of young and old. Baker Mayfield, they love Baker Mayfield in Tampa. Love him. I think the improvement on the offensive line will be more physical. They'll run the ball better. That's one thing they didn't do very well last year, getting Graham Barton in the middle of that line. They will run the ball more, take the pressure off of them. I love the Bucs in this spot.
Yeah, I love the Bucs as well. And you mentioned Graham Barton, and that's a huge identity change for this offensive line. I remember when they had Ryan Jensen, and it was kind of like the bell cow of that offense, and you knew he dictated the tempo which they were playing from a physicality standpoint, from a violence standpoint. They've got that in Graham Barton
from a
now.
Pushing your limits
They already have a quarterback by the name of Baker Mayfield, who you spoke about, who we all love to watch play. There's something about these guys. They have that gravitational pull for effort. The guys around Baker play hard all the time, and obviously across the field is Jaden Daniels. Baker wants to measure himself up against the cream of the crop in that rookie class. So he's going to go out there, do everything he can. I've got the Bucs in this one. It's a tough place to play, particularly early in the season for a team that doesn't deal with the heat as hot as it is in Tampa Bay.
It's a fishy-looking line, though. I'll say that.
This one is too.
Yeah, 3.5. I thought it would be more like 5.
There's something fishy going on with you guys because you agree on just about everything.
He's a sweetheart.
The first time.
It's his first time. Come on. Let's be nice to him. It's his first time. He won't agree with me next week.
It's time for Prisco's Picks presented by FanDuel, and we are going to get best bets. Pete, since this is your segment, your name is on this thing, we'll let you give your best bet first. And it's not a pick against the spread. It's a total.
It is a total. It's the Jacksonville-Miami game to go soaring over the total. It's going to be so high you can't imagine. It's going to be, both teams are going to be in the 30s. You're going to sit there and say, oh, this is what they talk about with the Miami Dolphins and their offense. And Jacksonville's offense going to be explosive as well. Look at all the weapons they have. Brian Thomas might catch 2 long touchdown passes in this game. Tyreek Hill might get 2 on the other side. I think this game goes way over the
Getting loose.
It all comes down to their health, right? And the one I've got is the Steelers and the Falcons. Under 42.5. We know the Steelers are going to do their part. Are the Falcons going to be greased up enough to put those kind of numbers up on the field?
Okay, so under 42.5 is the play for Kyle. I'm also going to give a pick this year as well. I'm getting in on the fun.
Oh, we're going to, you know, we score these. We score them.
Oh, I know. I'm in it to win it, baby.
Okay.
I'm going to go Jets +4 Monday Night Football in Santa Clara against the Niners. I think it's quarterback scales. I think
That's
right
exciting.
now it could be Aaron Rodgers over Brock Purdy. I know Brock Purdy's been great.
I like it.
But it's more than a field goal, and we've seen, what was it, last year the Lions went into Kansas City and won. That doesn't necessarily mean the 49ers aren't going to win this game and win this NFC. But Jets, great defense, and Aaron Rodgers is back. I like the Jets there. We're also going to get a pick from the control room. We're going to call it our producer pick, and it's a pick that goes against what you guys said earlier in this Browns-Cowboys game. The control room loves the Browns -2.5 at home against the Cowboys.
Well, they're hotboxing that control room, obviously, because the Cowboys are just a better team. I don't know what you guys are doing back there.
Well, they must really love Deshaun Watson. They must think he's going to be a star this year, because I don't see it. I really don't. I think the better team is in Dallas. But you know what? If we all agree, it's usually the kiss of death, so maybe that's a good thing.
Okay, so those are our picks for Week 1 in the NFL this season, recapping the late slate picks and the best bets for Kyle and Pete. Look, we're using Kyle's
Is that my mugshot?
That's his football. That's his football shot
Pete,
from the Bears.
Okay, we need a picture of Pete from his high school playing
There
days.
was a lot of hair on that head back then.
Was there? They agree on the Chargers, Seahawks, Cowboys, and Bucks, and they're both going totals for their best bet. Kyle says under the 42.5 for Steelers, Falcons, and Pete says under 49.5. I'm sorry, over 49.5 in a really high-scoring game. They could get into the 60s, miles over. Loosey-goosey in Jags
Way over.
and Dolphins. Good luck, everybody.